Are live. It is the third edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. I am joined today by Steve Prohm, the former coach of the Iowa State Cyclones. I almost said Iowa State Hawkeyes and Murray State Racers. That you can't do that here.
No.
And Ashton Gibbs, former Pitt Panther, longtime overseas professional player. Guys, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here. Ashton, it's your first time on the show. I got to deal with Steve during our 9-hour marathon. It's your first time on the show. How excited are you to be able to spend the next hour with me?
I'm really excited. Thanks for having me, man.
Good to have you with us.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good to be here, man. Ashton, good to have you on the team, man. And looking forward to talking some basketball.
All right. So we had one really big game tonight. That was Maryland hosting George Washington. It was not the best performance that we've ever seen out of Maryland, but it's something that might have been a little bit typical of these Mark Turgeon teams over the last couple of years. Steve, I'm going to kick it to you first. What do you make of this team? You know, it's an interesting makeup. They got some transfers coming in. They lost some big names last year. Fats Russell is fun at times, frustrating at others. Kudus Wahab is a big body inside. I don't know how much you could do other than be big. So what did you make of the Terps seeing them play these first two games?
Well, you just touched on the two guys. I think those two transfers are going to be huge for them if they're going to have the success they want to this year under Mark Turgeon. You know, top 25 team, a team that 2 years ago won the Big Ten. But the return of Eric Ayala, I think that's huge. Scott, and then Hart played well for the night. He didn't have a great game, I don't think, the other night. But you look at Wahad, you look at Fats Russell, and then the freshman Julian Reese. You know, I think Mark's done a phenomenal job up there at Maryland. I know we'll dive into that. You know, it's early in the season. You know, it's 2 games in. They've got a great schedule. I mean, they've got Vermont coming in, who just had a great road win at Northern Iowa. They've got Richmond, George Mason, Florida, Virginia Tech. So they'll be tested before they get to the Big Ten. But I think Mark's done a terrific job, and I think his team will just continue to grow and get better this year. But he did a great job getting those additions from Rhode Island and Georgetown.
Yeah, you mentioned UVM. They put a whooping on Northern Iowa at Northern Iowa today, and that's always a good team. They didn't even have the America East Player of the Year, Ryan Day, did not play, and they won by 14 at Northern Iowa, which is never an easy thing to do. Let me ask you this, Ashton, before we kind of get into the conversation about Mark Turgeon. You played when you were at Pitt. They had one of the best kind of home crowds that you can get in college basketball. Maryland, in my opinion, is a top 10 home environment when that place is rocking, when it's full. It was not full tonight. How difficult is it as a player? Do you run into situations where you find yourself, if it's an early season game and the building's not full and it's a little bit cold in there, is it hard to kind of get up for some of these non-conference games?
Sometimes, for sure. But when you're playing against a team like a George Washington, it's an A-10 school team that really wants to, win. It's a local game of some sort. So those type of games, you're always, kind of hyped up for. The guys usually know each other, local guys, the DC, Maryland guys. So overall, it's usually a tough time to, just get adjusted in terms of the crowd. But once you start playing against, local guys that you kind of grew up with, the momentum just, stirs the pot and you kind of get going right away.
Yeah, to your point, Maryland, there's George Washington has a Maryland transfer on their roster named Ricky Lindo, who played there for 2 years. All right, let's get into this conversation about Turge, because I think it's really fascinating. Prom, you said that he's done a great job there. There's a lot of Maryland fans that would disagree with your assessment, and I think they would disagree pretty vocally. So what is it about Turge, and what is it about this program that makes you say that he's done a great job?
Well, number one, he replaced the legend. I mean, he replaced Gary Williams, won 2 Final Fours, national championship, 5 Sweet 16s. But how many coaches in their last 9 years, 6 of those 9 years, he's won 24 or more games. He's been in the NCAA tournament 5 of the last 6 years there. And 2 years ago, and you didn't celebrate that team as much because the year got shut down because of COVID, they won the Big Ten. They won the regular season title, the Big Ten title. And so, I know they want to get to the second round weekend, Sweet 16, Elite 8. But I just think when you look at sustaining success and being consistently good, that's hard to do. That's hard to do. And I think he deserves credit for that.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And to your point, his teams are always good. Like he never has bad teams. The first year that he was at Maryland, it was a little bit rough. But since then, he hasn't had a team that finished outside of the top 50 on KenPom, right? He's been to, like you mentioned, 5 of the last 6 NCAA tournaments. I'm just going to say 6 of the last 7 because they would have been there in the COVID season that got shut down. But it's kind of, you're at a program that has won a national title, that went to 2 Final Fours under Gary Williams. And there's a level of expectation there, right, Ashton? And you get to a point where I think that the fan base, you want a fan base that cares. You also want a fan base that understands if you get to the tournament 6 out of 7 years, there's a lot of schools that aren't doing that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, but when it comes down to it, just being at Pitt and knowing, Coach Dixon's situation as well, the fan base needs to have, a bit of patience that just comes with it, comes with everything. I think Mark Turgeon has done a great job of just getting a lot of talent. You see this year with Wahab and Fats Russell, those are two key pieces that he really needed. And I see this team really making a run this year just because filling that piece under the rim, and then Fats Russell can really cause havoc, not only defensively, but offensively, just getting downhill and creating different things, not only for himself, but for others as well.
So let me ask you this further, that point on Jamie Dixon. It was kind of the same situation with Jamie at Pitt at the end as it was for Mark now at Maryland. Now, what I don't know if you actually played for him during those years when the fan base was kind of getting on him a little bit, but do you know what would it be like for a player in that situation? Are you aware of what the fans are saying about the coach? And I mean, you chose to go play for this man, right? So there's got to be a certain level of loyalty where you say, okay, look, yes, it is what it is, but come on, man, at least have a little bit of respect, right?
Yeah, for sure. But that's what you want, especially as a player. I knew going into it, the expectations, the standard, and day in, day out, that's what brings the best out of you. Out of your practice habits, your game habits. Ultimately, you want to win games. You want to be on the highest stage and get that exposure, and that comes with pressure. So these fans, they obviously want to win. They want to win games, but usually these coaches put a lot of pressure on themselves. So they have to know also, like, the standard for themselves will never be higher than individually than what they set for themselves ultimately.
Yeah, Steve, I want to ask you this because I think that you have a better feel for what coaches go through in this situation. You've been to NCAA tournaments at Iowa State. You were also on Goodman's hot seat list at times at Iowa State. So what is it like for a coach that is in that situation? How stressful is it?
It's stressful because it impacts so many people. It impacts, obviously, me, my family, but it affects, my staff, assistant coaches, possibly trainers, strength coaches, secretaries. I mean, there's so many people affected. Players, are they going to be able to stay? Do they have to transfer? Are they going to be a fit for the next coach? There's so many things and factors that go into it. I think when you're going to go through tough times. And I mean, we won 2 Big 12 tournament titles, went to 3 NCAAs, but at some point you're going to go through some tough times, and you got to be able to circle the wagons and fight through it together. And so that's why there is a lot of pressure. You get paid a lot of money to handle the pressure. But at the end of the day, it's administration's decision, and you've got to respect that. And then you got to go forward if that's the decision they make and figure out ways to get better. But for guys like Mark, and, he touched on Jamie. Jamie went to tournament 13 out of 15 years at Pitt. Rick Barnes went to tournament at Texas 17 out of 18 years. The level of that consistency at this level is remarkable.
So I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So if you're a fan, right, and you're supporting a team and you want to see them do things like continue to progress, continue to get better. If you've made it to a Sweet 16, we want an Elite 8. You made it to Elite 8. We want to get a chance to go to a Final Four, right? So there has to be kind of a happy medium, right? Where you can say, yes, you're having all of this success, but also the program is not on that upward trajectory. It's kind of flatlining, right? Is it fair for fans to kind of be like, okay, we're not improving, so let's maybe take another shot? Or is it something where it's like, look, you don't know how good it is. Pitt might be the perfect example for this. You don't know how good it is until it's gone, right?
Yeah, just talking from experience, I replaced Fred, and Fred won 2 Big 12 tournament titles, went to a Sweet 16. Maybe Fred may have went to 2 Sweet 16. I think just 1, but maybe 2. And so we won 2 Big 12 tournament titles. We went to a Sweet 16, got back to tournament a couple more times. But I think that we need to get to the Elite Eight. We needed to get to the Final Four. We needed to make a deeper run in March. I had a great team in 2019 that got upset in the first round, to where if that team makes the Elite Eight, maybe you have a different thought process about the coach, about that team. And so much is judged by what you do in late March or mid-March.
Yeah, and I mean, that's so tough. I've always said about the NCAA tournament, it is the best way to crown a champion, and it is the worst way to determine who is the best basketball team in the country. It's fun, but I mean, there's so many careers that were extended for making a run, and so many careers that were cut short because they weren't able to get out of that first round. You are a fair example, and I'm sorry to bring up a sore subject. Ash, let me ask you this: what do you think Maryland needs to do to be able to make that next step? Right, to be able to get to that level where they're getting back to Final Fours, which this fan base wants so desperately?
I think ultimately shooting it consistently and then just getting stops at crucial moments. I think Fats Russell can definitely help with that, especially perimeter. He's a great defender on the perimeter. And then Wahab just really changing shots around the rim also and securing rebounds, I think. So ultimately, especially when you get deep into March, it's about making shots and getting stops crucial in crucial games. So I think adding Fats, and now you have, Eric Ayala. I really like that backcourt a lot. And then, with that perimeter defender there, with that interior defender, I should say, with Wahab, now you have a balance of both going deep into March.
Yeah, Prom, where do you see them growing? How do you see this team competing in the Big Ten? Like, what's the way to them getting into the conversation with the likes of Illinois and the likes of Michigan? There's a lot of good teams at the top of that league.
Well, I think Mark's team's always kind of defined his persona or his personality. Mark was a tough point guard at Kansas, and he's got an edge to him. I think he coaches with an edge. Ashton touched on the recruiting. They've recruited at a high level. When you're recruiting at a high level, obviously you're recruiting with an edge. And so I see this team, especially with, you've got 3 transfers, 2 of them that they're really counting on that we've already touched on with Wahab and Russell, returning guys like Scott, Hart, and Ayala. So I think this team will just continue to get better throughout the year. The Big Ten is, everybody can argue about leagues, ACC, Big 12, SEC. They're all hard. And the Big Ten, the one thing about the Big Ten that makes it so good is the road environments at every place. Basically, everybody in that league, the road environment is phenomenal. And so, but I think at the end of the day, Maryland will be right there in the thick of it and get back to another NCAA tournament.
So you mentioned tough leagues, you mentioned great road environments, and you mentioned competitive conferences where you have 3, 4, 5 really, really good teams at the top. You could be talking about the SoCon, right? Joining us now, we have Furman head coach. You like that? You like that segue?
Yeah,
Steve?
you too. Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, we have Furman Paladins head coach Bob Ritchie joining us. Bob, thanks for being here, man. I know you're on the road. I know you're off in these hotel rooms right now. How you doing? How's everything going?
We're good. We got to Louisville a couple hours ago, and got a good meal and got everybody settled in and getting ready to play tomorrow night.
So you took over the Furman program from Nico Medved. I know Nico pretty well. So I texted him to try to get some dirt on you to ask, and he wouldn't give me anything. He's a loyal guy. You could trust him. But he did tell me that you are a foodie and a little bit of a cook. You're a little bit of a culinary expert. So I got to know, what's the best dish that you make? What is the signature Bob Ritchie meal?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a signature deal. I'm from Louisiana, so Steve would know this a little bit. Like once you get out of the state of Louisiana, the only way you really get the food is to learn how to make it. It's really like you just gotta, if you want real gumbo, like, and you're out of Louisiana, you just gotta learn how to make it. So, that's usually something I'll do is an etouffee or a gumbo. But Nico and I, we used to like to do those bowls together. They call them in South Carolina, they call them low country bowls, but they put no seasoning on them. And so I had to bring out a little Louisiana crab bowl for old Nico and show him how to spice it up a little bit.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to fill. Hey, Bob, obviously great to see you. Appreciate you jumping on. And obviously I was down there a couple of weeks ago and think the world of you and what the job you've done there at Furman. talk to me. I loved your team watching you. Obviously, offensively, you guys are terrific, do some really good things. Your backcourt, Bothwell and Hunter, okay, an all-league backcourt. Everybody knows about them. But the kid that stood out to me and I think is going to really, really make some headways this year is Jalen Slauson. So just talk to me a little bit about him, your backcourt, and where you see this team, because obviously you have some great opportunities in front of you here.
Yes, I mean, we try to do it in a way where we develop and bring in high school kids and really try to get them in our program and our system and our skill. And these are a couple guys that have just done a nice job of developing their time here. Alex Hunter will be a fifth-year senior. He used his COVID year, and has really been with me the whole time I've been head coach. And I was a backup point guard his first year, and then has started the last four. And he's just had a phenomenal career. I think this year he's going to have a chance. We had some really good point guards in the league last year. I think he's going to have a chance to be the best point guard in the league. Really, really shoots the ball well, physically gifted, and a heck of a defender. Just somebody that really points our defense and just understands how to win. Mike Bothwell, he was all conference last year. He was our leading scorer and just a multi-dimensional guard, really can play him at any of the three guard spots. Really crafty with the ball, talented finisher, and, can really get to his spots. And then, he's really put a lot of time in, getting his outside shot more consistent, really building it through his base. And I look for him to have a really good year of being able to be kind of that three-level scorer. But you're right. I mean, Jalen Slauson has had as big of a jump as really any player I've coached in an off season. And, has really led us in scoring all, in our live play in the summer and in the preseason. And really a lot of it is just him being able to, we played him at the 5. Noah Gurley was with us and graduated and went to Alabama once he graduated. And so when he left, we decided to move Jalen from the 5 out to where Noah played on the floor. And he's just been really comfortable with it, facing the basket, being able to, he's a dribble, pass, and shoot guy that's 6'7", 215. And can now, he hit 3 or 4 threes the other night in our first opening game, had 19 points, can operate handoffs, can operate ball screens, can switch, has a lot of defensive versatility to him. So really excited about those 3 in terms of our leadership. And, we rounded out with a grad transfer with Conley Garrison that I think is going to be really good for us. And then Steve, after that, it's really all young guys. And so I think it's going to be, it's exciting because I think we have, we're old at the top, and I think we're old enough, but then we're going to have this group of other 6 guys that really either COVID freshmen or regular freshmen that are going to be able to get better as the year goes on. And that's what I'm really excited to see. I think this team's going to be fun to watch, once we get into, January, February, March.
Yeah, I love Mike's toughness. I just thought I didn't get the chance to watch Alex when I was down there, but Mike's toughness, and then like you touched on, Jalen's skill level, his ability to change shots around the basket, he's going to turn a lot of people's heads this year. He's one for everybody out there to keep their eyes on, Furman and Jalen Slauson for sure.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Steve. I think he's, I think he's earned it, and I think he's put the work in, and he's started for us really the last 2 years. He played a backup role his freshman year, and has been a starter for us. But sometimes you get an opportunity and you work at it, and he's one of those guys that I thought he's really maximized this opportunity. But I will tell you, last year I think he was 1 assist away from a triple double at College of Charleston. And so there's been some games where we've seen the versatility. We had Noah last year. We had Clay Mounts, who's playing in Europe now. So we lost 30 points a game off that team. And so, he really took the responsibility to improve and to be able to maximize his moment this year.
Ashton.
Go ahead.
Coach, big week coming up. In non-conference in particular, how much do you find yourself rooting for those other teams in the SoCon?
I always root for our league just because I think our league has been exceptional for years now. And I think that, it's starting to appear that, the media is starting to notice it a little bit and starting to pay a little bit more attention to it. But I really believe, and I know I'm a little bit biased, Ashton, but I think it's been deserved for years back. And, you look back on this, what was it, 3 years ago when we beat Villanova and Loyola, and then Wofford had that 18-0 run in our league and got ranked and beat Seton Hall, and Greensboro was phenomenal. I mean, I think all three of us that year had like the best years in school history, all three of us at the same time. And then you look and you see, what these programs have done, a lot of where the coaches have gone. It's just a really good basketball league. And, it challenges in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of great coaches. There's a lot of great cultures. There's a lot of good, unique styles of play. And I think we were 10th in the net as a league last year, 9th in the RPI. And, it's if you go back and look over the history of time, where the 9th and 10th team ranked leagues were in terms of at-larges and things like that, I think it's time that, people do start to notice. And so when Citadel goes up and wins at Pitt, I know that probably surprised a lot of people, but, Duger's been winning for a long time, and he's had a unique style of playing for a long time. And he's a great coach, and Greg Gary, they go and to Arkansas, and they didn't win, but they played well. And, it's just one of those situations where I think you're going to see that more and more. And, Western Carolina, right? I mean, they won in overtime versus Bowling Green the other night. And so I just think I tend to pull for our league just because I think that we're on the cusp of really, being able to solidify ourselves as a premier mid-major conference.
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act, right? Like, you have these guys that are your rivals, but at the end of the day, like, every time that Wofford picks off a big win, that's good for everybody. Every time you boost up those computer numbers just a little bit, the rising tide lifts all ships. That's right. The way it is in non-conference play. It matters. Right.
I mean, the way I see it, Rob, like, we're all going to play each other anyway. You know what I mean? Like, if Wofford beats Clemson tomorrow, or Clemson beats Wofford, or we beat Louisville, or Louisville beats us, I mean, we're all still going to play each other. And, let's make it, the more competitive the league is, the more attendance there is, the better the environments are, the better the experience is. I think that's why we all do it. And so, I get excited. I mean, I texted Duger the other night after he won that game at Pitt. I mean, I was fired up for him. And, as we all know as a coach, I mean, those are some of you remember those nights, and, you don't want to go to bed, and, you don't want those moments. You don't want those moments to be over, because they're moments. And when you wake up the next morning, you're chasing the next one. But I might be a little bit different there, but I do definitely pull for our league.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you who wanted that Pitt versus Citadel moment to be over quicker than possible. Alum Ashton Gibbs. He probably doesn't appreciate that very much. But listen, Bob, it's been great having you on, man. I do enjoy listening to you start fighting for the league already. It's sad that that's the situation that we're in college basketball right now. But I can tell you right now, the Field of 68 After Dark is a pro SoCon show. There you go. We're going to be pushing for you all season long. This isn't going to be the last time that we have you on. Maybe we'll bring you on with Jay McCauley and let you guys kind of fight it out on here.
There you go. There you go. Jay and I worked together for Nico. So we were Jay and I we were on that staff for 4 years together, and we all got some good stories together.
5 teams in the SoCon receiving top 25 votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you look at Chattanooga and what the roster they have of those guards, and the transfer from Kansas they brought in, and they've built a really good roster. They're going to have a really good team, and ETSU has a ton of talent. Mike Jones knows what he's doing. We all know that. So he's taking over Greensboro. I mean, it's going to be fun, and we just appreciate you guys thinking about us and covering us, and hopefully as the year goes on, there'll be more and more storylines that we can all talk about.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, listen, Bob, it's been great, man. I appreciate you jumping on, taking time away from your Louisville film study. We're going to quiz you on that later on. All right.
Hey, good luck tomorrow.
Hey, sounds good, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Well, that was perfect because he made my segue for me. I didn't even have to tee that up for you, Ash. And so Pitt lost to Citadel by 18. I know it's tough, but we got to talk about it, man. We're going to put you on the hot seat right now. Like, what? How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling about the program? How are your teammates feeling? How are your friends and you went to school with feeling about it right now? It's not in a good place.
Yeah, so we actually have a Pitt alumni group chat that I'm in, and we have, all of the former players are in for the most part. And obviously guys aren't happy at all. But overall, it's still early. One game. The biggest take that I got from is Ethel Horton that was a big loss. But John Hughley, which is, their big man, he was a big time recruit for them. He had his first double-double, and I thought he played really well. But overall, it's still early for Capel. I'm a Capel believer, so I'm definitely going to support him. And they've had a lot of transfers, and the transfers that have left overall, they're doing really well at the place they're at. So you look at Justin Champagnie, just he's going to the NBA. Xavier Johnson, Trey McGowan's. They've had numerous. Audice Tony. All of these guys were impact players for them. So it's going to take a while for those new guys just to get adjusted to new roles, just to build that fan base back up. I think, it took a little while for the fans to, I think the ticket sales were down, but now, over time they'll come back up. But I'm still a Capel believer. I'm still obviously supporting. And just give us a little bit more time, Rob. Just give us a little bit more time.
I mean, it's tough, man. When you look at the players that have left, like we had this conversation off air a little bit. Marcus Carr did his freshman year there. Xavier Johnson, he transferred out. Parker Stewart, he's at Indiana now. He's my podcast co-host Terrence Oglesby is very high on Parker Stewart being an impact player for Indiana. He's gone. Trey McGowan's, he's gone. You mentioned Audice Tony, he's gone. Justin Champagnie, he went pro. He probably would have gone pro no matter what happened. He's a really good player. That's just the day and age that we live in. But still, those are 6 guys. You put those 6 players on this roster right now. I mean, what are they? Top 3, 4, 5 team in the ACC, right, Steve?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you just rattled off a lot of really good players, a lot of skilled guys, a lot of really good guards. But in this day and age, that's the thing is, certain programs can sustain the transfers, can sustain guys going pro or leaving early. You've got to be prepared for all that in this day and age. But the thing we talked about off air, and, we may have had Kevin Willard on tonight. Capel's got a great pedigree. Obviously, he's done it at a high level of ECU. He won at Oklahoma, with Blake and the Griffin brothers. He did a phenomenal job as an assistant with Coach K. And his mentor, Coach K, people know this story. His first 3 years at Duke, they really struggled. Okay. Kevin Willard, it took him 6 years at Seton Hall to get to the NCAA tournament. And then once he got the culture and the program the way he wanted it, 5 straight years, NCAA tournament. And so I don't know the ins and outs of the Pitt program. I know Jeff a little bit from afar, but I know he knows basketball. He can recruit, and hopefully he has good relationships in that community and with that administration that they'll stay in there toe-to-toe with him. And guys like Ashton can rally those players to stay true and loyal and put themselves in a position where they can get Pitt basketball back to where they want to be. They haven't been back to the tournament since Jamie left in 2016.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you didn't realize you always thought the grass was greener on the other side, but it turns out it's not. I will say this. I'm not going to sit here and call for somebody's job. That's just not kind of the way that I'm wired to do this stuff publicly. But I understand administrations that want to make a change sooner rather than later. If you think that you made the wrong decision when you made a hire, I think it's always better to kind of get that fix going quicker and sooner rather than just kind of like, all right, let's let it play out. We got to give them 4 years, got to give them 5 years, got to let them have a chance, like whatever. If you know that you made the wrong decision, I mean, start fixing it right away, right? I think that's probably the best thing to kind of do for the program itself. But I mean, that's kind of comes down to saying that Jeff Capel was a wrong hire. Ashton, it sounds like you don't think it was necessarily the wrong hire. I mean, they lost some guys this offseason, and it may not have necessarily been anything that Jeff Capel could have done about it, right?
Yeah, he couldn't do anything about that. Just off the court issues overall. I think the next step for this Pitt team is just creating an identity. I think that was one of the biggest things that we had when I was there was tough, gritty, just defense first, making good decisions on offense, and just letting that carry us day in and day out. We were very consistent with that, and we just carried that identity on, and everybody knew, from recruits to the fan base to the whole city of Pittsburgh. So if Capel creates an identity and really just, dives into that, I think he'll be fine. That's basically what he did, and what him and Coach K, I should say, did at Duke. So, building that identity at Pitt. I always been a believer of just defense and rebounding the ball at a high clip. So building that identity first and then just building from there, and your recruiting base to kind of sell itself.
All right, so let's pivot. We've talked enough about depressing stuff. Let's talk about the 2 top 5 games we got coming up this week. So Steve, I'm going to go to you first on this one. We have Texas at Gonzaga on Saturday night. According to our partners over at Bet Rivers, that line is Texas getting 8.5 points. And to me, that seems crazy. We'll get into the exact breakdowns of the numbers in a second. But you went down and you saw Texas practice. This is a team that has a lot of new faces. They have so many transfers that I can't even count that high, right? So talk to me about what you saw out of this team and what you're expecting them to look like on the floor. New head coach, 7 new pieces coming into this program. What did you see out of them when you were at practice?
Well, obviously, we know how good Chris Beard is. And I think he loves this environment. I mean, I was talking off air. I mean, he'll have those guys extremely prepared. They'll know the ins and outs of Gonzaga offensively, defensively, ATOs. This is what he lives for. Moments like this, to where everybody's the media spin is, man, can he bring all these guys together? And I think he feeds off that. You look at obviously a lot of transfers. They had 6 guys in double figures the other night. 2 other guys had 8 points. And so what makes them tough offensively is, who do you want to take away? You want to take away Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey? Well, they got Marcus Carr, and they've got, Christian Bishop, Trey Mitchell, Jace Febres, the guard that was there last year that stayed. Man, being down there and watching them practice, he's sneaky good. You watch him when you're scouting, you're kind of like, man, he just makes shots. Man, he's got a little something to him that if he can get a little bit of the defensive tenacity with Beard and get a little nastiness, like Ashton was talking about with his Pitt days, then he's going to be a big contributor. But defensively, they are what they are. Everybody knows what you're going to get. You're not going to be able to go middle. They're going to flood to the ball. They're going defensive rebound, and defense travels. And, I always say these games, it's their pressure against the environment of Gonzaga, and the kennel. And then the other thing is hype versus substance, and there's a lot of hype to this game, but it's going to come down to the substance. And I think Beard and his teams are always great at the substance, defending, rebounding, valuing the ball, taking good shots. And so I can't wait for Saturday night. It's going to be a heck of a game.
That hype versus substance line sounds like something that you would say to one of your teams in a locker room before a game, right?
It is. Yeah.
Right, Ashton?
Oh, for sure, man. And we talk about identity. That's literally what I was just talking about with that Pitt team. And that's what reminds me of Chris Beard's, all of his teams. And I think he's going to carry that on here to Texas. I think Trey Mitchell underneath around the basket is big time. He's a skilled big man. And then you add in Marcus Carr, who can score the ball and he can really knock down shots on the perimeter. You add that in with a tough, gritty defense and securing rebounds. And like you said, Chris Beard's team always prepared. So it's going to be a good game. I can't wait. I can't wait as well, man.
So the thing Ashton touched on, man, identity. If you look at any good team, they have an identity. And the teams that struggle, usually they're trying to figure out their identity, or they never found their identity. Going into this game Saturday night, man, Texas is going to guard you. They're going to compete like crazy, and you can have them down. Like, they may get down 10 or 12. That's not anything for them. He's going to will them back into the game and get that thing down to the last 4 minutes. And then Gonzaga, obviously we know they can score, and we know the hype behind their freshmen, Holmgren and Salas, and, we should all jump on a plane and head to Spokane.
So, Ashton, I do want to ask you a little bit about playing on the road and playing in those crazy environments, because everybody that knows anything about college basketball is going to know that the kennel is going to be rocking on Saturday night. So just kind of take me through a little bit what it's like playing in that environment when you can't hear what your coach is calling. You probably can't even really hear yourself think, and you're probably getting cussed out by 27 different drunk frat boys sitting behind a basket. Like, what is that like as a player being in that moment?
Oh, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. But ultimately, that's what you go to the high majors for. That's what you ultimately go to those big time schools. You want to play in those jam-packed arenas. And ultimately, I think it comes down to your habits, your practice habits. You end up doing what you practice just every single day. You know, at the end of the day, those jam-packed arenas, you could barely hear anything. The coaches have the boards up on the sidelines, and how hard you cut, how hard you play on defense, how hard you box out will ultimately just depend on how you practice. So those consistent habits that, you know, I know Chris Beard's team will have, and then ultimately Mark Few's as well. So may the best team win, but ultimately it's going to come down to who has the best practice habits, and ultimately translates into those type of games for sure.
Yeah. So Steve, we were talking about this a little bit off air, but I'm of the mindset that Gonzaga, I never want to lay 8.5 points against a team that is coached by Chris Beard anywhere, right? But this Gonzaga situation kind of makes me think like maybe it makes a little bit of sense for a couple of reasons. One, I feel like they are built for being able to go up against this no middle defense. They have a whole bunch of big guards that can kind of do what you need to do to be able to get to the baseline. They're not going to drive all the way into people taking charge. They're going to be able to find shooters around the floor. Chet is going to be a difference maker when it comes to spacing the floor. And something that you mentioned earlier, they've had a chance to play against a defense like this before when they went up against Baylor in the national title game that I don't think Gonzaga fans want to remember right now. So how do you feel about going up against a defense like that? Because, I mean, it's starting to get a little bit more prevalent, but that no middle style that they kind of started, I don't want to say they started, but they made popular at Texas Tech is not the easiest thing to go up against.
No, it's a bear. And if you're going to go up against them, you need to be able to space the floor. You need to spread the floor with shooters. You got to have ball guys that can make plays, especially if they go to where they're switching. You got to be able to space it. You got to be able to drive your mismatch, draw closeouts, and then the ball can't stick. The ball's got to move, and then you've got to drive back, closeouts, and then you've got to be shot ready and make shots, especially to put their defense on their heels. But you know, their defense is trained, like Ashton said, to win in these environments. You know, they're probably got music blaring in their practices right now to where you can't hear. I mean, you can only imagine. And then they will be dialed in. But
can I tell you a quick story about Beard when he was at Texas Tech? I was at the 2018 regional in, I believe it was Boston. That was the year that they made it to the Elite Eight. I think they lost to Villanova in the Elite Eight. They beat Purdue in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
And the practice day between the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, they had two kids, like two of their GA. First of all, Texas Tech, Beard, whenever they travel like 100 people deep. It looks like a football team, but that's with their basketball team. But they had two of their GAs that were specifically assigned to carrying the speakers that they would play music on in their locker room, in the gym, in the hallway while they're warming up as Villanova is practicing. I thought that they had, it was in the Boston Garden, and they had the speakers in the hallway blasting so that you could hear it on the floor while they were warming up in the hallway waiting for their practice time. I've never seen anybody do anything like that. I think it's Beard playing mental games.
Yeah, he's one of the best. You got two future Hall of Famers going at it. Obviously, you know, Gonzaga, we haven't touched on them a bunch yet. We've talked more a little bit about Texas, but their guard plays terrific. Obviously, their front court's terrific. But if you're going to attack this defense, it's really not about special plays. You may steal a bucket here and there. At the end of the day, against this defense, you've got to be able to spread the floor. You got to beat people off the dribble. You got to draw help. You got to move the basketball, and you got to have playmakers out there. And Gonzaga has obviously a very, very good talent. And so it's going to be a test of wills. And like Ashton touched on, practice habits and what you're about, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, well, while we wait for another special guest who I'll surprise everybody with when he actually shows up, Ashton, I got to ask you, I'm putting you on the spot with this one. You're in the hot seat. Drew Timme or Chet Holmgren? You're starting a team right now in college. Who are you taking?
I got to go Chet just because of the length on both sides. He can shoot the three. Obviously, he can dribble, pass, and shoot. But he can make plays for others. That's what I really like, especially from your bigs. So you really throw him the ball at the post, throw him the ball at the elbow. He can dive to the basket. He can make a play for himself, but he can also kick out to open shooters. So I really like Chet, but Drew Timme isn't bad, man. You talk about a veteran guy that really is tough on defense. He can finish around the basket, but he also makes others better too. I think he looks like he's just a leader out there. You can just tell he's very vocal and just tough overall. But I'm a Chet guy. I really like Chet, man. I think the sky's the limit for him. And then obviously he'll probably be the number one pick, top 3 pick in the draft. So from both ends, defensively and offensively, I just think Chet is just a little bit more versatile.
Steve, you got a take on that?
No, just in a joking, if you take Timme, you're at least going to get him for 3 or 4 years. Chet, you're only getting him for 1 if you're going to do for a college program. So since we're talking about transferring the guys going pro, give me the guy, a really good player for 3 or 4 years. Though Chet, obviously, we know he's special.
So I teased it a little bit. We have one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball coming in right now. I don't know how many people know who this guy is, but I know who he is. I love watching him play. Steve, he reminds me a little bit of one of your former players in Georgia gang. It's David Roddy from Colorado State. David, what's going on, man? Thank you for being here.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
So I got to ask you this. You play for a Colorado State program that you guys have kind of built up a little bit, right? Like, I don't want to say it was nothing before you got there, but there were some growing pains at the start. And now you got it to a point where I think you can make the argument that you might be, or you are the favorite to win the Mountain West. So I want to know from your perspective, what was that growing that growth like, and what are your expectations for this season?
Yeah, the growth has been pretty fast, actually, I would say. We surprised a lot of people last year, my sophomore year. No one really thought that we were going to be one game or one shot away from the conference championship. So, I was just really proud of, the amount of development that all the guys have achieved, as well as, the coaches doing an amazing job with us. But, the journey has been pretty long, but short at the same time. I'm a junior now. It's going by really, really fast. So I'm just trying to enjoy every moment.
David, thanks for being on with us. Steve Prohm and Rob touched on at the beginning. I was the head coach at Iowa State. My first year there, I coached a guy, George Niang, who's with the Philadelphia 76ers, and phenomenal player and could really play all over the floor. And I know Nico and I know Ali out there, pretty well. And I said, man, tell me a little bit about David. And, they're like, man, he can really play 1 through 5 and, post guards. He can drive bigs. And I just think the way the game's going, especially the way you guys play some 4 out, 5 out, it's such an advantage. How do you see yourself offensive in your system there?
Yeah, it's pretty free forming. Our offense, it's very, it's strict, but it's very free within the confines of the offense. So, again, that took a lot of time and energy of understanding the niches and the intricacies of the offense. I would say, they definitely have, progressed my inside out game. I can post up when needed, as well as, be on the outside wing and take a big, one-on-one when needed. So it's definitely a really, really cool place to be. I don't think any of my other schools that I've considered would, put me in a position very early. So I'm just super thankful to, again, be in this position. And, hopefully I'll utilize, more skills, as time goes on as well.
Hey, David, Ashton Gibbs, pleasure to meet you. I'm a guard, and I'm a guard guy. Talk to me about Isaiah Stevens and his impact on your squad.
Yeah, Isaiah is definitely – one of the most, if not the most skilled point guard or guard I've ever played with. He has a ball on the string every single time that he has it, no matter if he's pressured or not. Can shoot the 3 from deep at a very high clip, as well as, score at, mid-range and finishing as well. So that's, just one part of the game. But his biggest part of the game is definitely, sharing the ball. He averaged 5 assists, I think, both freshman and sophomore year. So, and he really sees it. And he's also a fierce competitor. which I love. And, he challenges me and the rest of the teammates every day to compete as hard as we can, because, that's really what, gets teams better over time. So, I just have, an extreme amount of respect for him. And, he's definitely my closest friend here on the team too. So, I just have a lot of fun with him.
All right. Well, David, listen, we appreciate you being here. I know that it's late. I know that you guys got class tomorrow, so I'm going to make sure to let Coach Medved know no running for you tomorrow. Okay, there's our appreciation for you being here. No running tomorrow. You're off the hook. I'm going to make sure that it happens. So I appreciate the time, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we actually have a game tomorrow late, so I really don't have anything until about 3 p.m. So, class in the morning, and then relax and get ready for the game that night.
Good luck tomorrow, man. We expect to win. Winners only on the field of 68.
110 points tomorrow. You got to get 110, man. Beat 109 tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it happens. If not, it'll be all right. But I'm just pulling for a win.
Hey, good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you, guys.
Well, he's not the only special guest we got coming in here. Prom, I don't know if you know this yet. Ashton, I don't know if you know this yet, but we have JP Mormon join us. JP is the man that hit what I'm going to go ahead and say is going to be the best shot of college basketball all season long. I don't care what happens the rest of the year. I don't care if there's another Jalen Suggs moment. It was the best shot in college basketball this season. We had JP. We don't have JP anymore. I don't know where he went, but he plays for UC Riverside. I'm teeing him up like it's the household name, like it's Chet Holmgren. He plays for UC Riverside, and he hit a 70-footer tonight to beat Arizona State in Tempe. Hopefully we'll get him back here in a second. So while we wait, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about UCLA and Villanova. So Coach Prohm, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Talk to me about this UCLA team, and they're coming off of a run to the national title game. What do you see out of them this year?
Yeah, I'm a big Mick Cronin fan. Obviously, he's got Murray State ties too, so I know Mick and Darren's a tremendous assistant for him. But just kind of looking at their team today and their roster, the one thing, so many interchangeable parts, man. Everybody's 6'7", 6'8". Juzang, Bernard, Jaquez, obviously Tiger Campbell, the point guards, smaller. I know they have Cody Riley got hurt, but man, length, versatility, size, interchangeable parts. They really guard you. They're versatile where they can switch on defense and they can score. And man, I'm obviously everybody's fired about the job Mick's done so far there, but this may be his best team yet.
Ashton, I'm going to ask you this because I know that Pitt's in the ACC now, but you played when they were in the Big East. So you were always going to be a Big East guy in my heart. And the Pitt Panthers are always going to be a Big East team, regardless of what conference affiliation they have right now. Villanova, that's another Big East team. So can you just talk to me a little bit about what you expect out of this group and what that Villanova program is like to play against?
Villanova, Jay Wright in general, and we talked about identity, a while back, and that's what Villanova embodies. Everybody has specific roles. I love Colin Gillespie. I love just Jay Wright's team in general. The way they play the game, not only defensively, they really guard you. Make really precision offense. And from one through five, he usually has guys that shoot. So they're going to be a tough cover from 1 through 5. I think Colin Gillespie's a heady point guard. He can really make shots, but he can really get in the lane and really jump stop. I like the fact that he can make plays from the post as well. Jay Wright does a good job of putting him in the post and putting him into actions where he can obviously score the ball, but he can really make plays around the rim and kick out to different shooters as well. It's going to be a really good game.
So my biggest concern with this Villanova team, and I'm curious if either of you guys have a strong take on this, on my opinion, please respond. I don't understand how they're a top 5 team right now. And I say that because they struggled last season a little bit in terms of what the expectations are for Villanova program. And they lost Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who I think is one of the most underappreciated players of the last 5, 10, 12 years, whatever you want it to be. So talk to me about how is this a top 5 team? Is it just because they are Villanova and they got Colin Gillespie back? Like what is it about them that makes them top 5? I see you nodding, Steve. I know you got something to say.
No. I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing, but I think it just goes to Jay Wright and the job he's done there, over the long haul, to where now we just expect Villanova to be right there in the thick of things, in the mix, and figure out ways to compete for Big East titles. And also now, 2 national championships, but Final Fours, and like we talked about, all these coaches, anything less than that is, people say, are they good enough? Now, but. Justin Moore's got to be big for them. When you kind of look at their roster, 6 for 8 from 3 the other night in their opening game. But what Ashton touched on, Jay does such a great job of having those guys fundamentally sound, guards playing out of the post. All that stuff is key. But I mean, they bring a guy, Caleb Daniels, off the bench, a New Orleans kid that I think's terrific and can really score. But if I had to pick the game, I'm going UCLA. But Villanova will be right there in the thick of things at the end of the year in the Big East for sure.
So we got him here now, JP Morgan. JP, I'm Rob Dawson. I'm kind of I'm the host of this shindig right here, and I gotta ask you, did you know it was good?
Yeah, the newscast. Before every game, so if the moment ever presents itself, I like to think I'm ready.
So what you said, you shoot those before every game. What percentage do you make when you're shooting those in warmups?
It don't matter. I just make one and just go.
All right. So just kind of, can you walk me through that moment? For people that didn't watch, there's 1.7 seconds left. You catch the ball facing your own basket, turn around, someone goes for a steal, let it fly from, what do we call that? 70 feet, 75 feet?
3/4. We call it 3/4 court.
That works for me. That's a lot of math. I'm not great at math, but take me through that moment and what you're seeing and what you're thinking.
I mean, it really all boils down to, getting into that moment. We like to, like, a part of our culture and what we talk about is just giving ourselves a chance to win in the last 4 minutes. So, we got a couple stops at the end, but we didn't get that last stop. So, that last play, I felt the guy was on my left side. So I knew that I would have to spin, like, kind of to the right to get the shot off. And it kind of worked out because he was just a little out of control trying to get the steal. And got the shot off in time, and it was good.
Hey, congratulations. I'm more excited to get off here and go watch the replay on ESPN. I haven't seen it yet, but obviously best moment for you basketball-wise?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's bigger than me, though, man. It's about, the rise of this program and, beating the Pac-12 team. That's the biggest thing about tonight, I think. Coming out to UC Riverside, that was kind of like a thing for me, just beating those bigger schools, because I played on a very competitive stage, being at Temple for 4 years. So, playing these big schools is nothing new to me, these Power 5 guys. So, just taking that mentality and leadership into the games with my guys, that's all I try to bring.
That's a great answer.
Coach Magpie has done a great job kind of building that program up. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the culture that he's built there and what he's done to be able to get you guys to a point where you're winning at a Pac-12 program? I mean, that's not something that should be overlooked. Like that is a big deal for UC Riverside.
For sure. Our coaches do a great job of just keeping us together. They are really big on just principles and fundamentals. And I think, when you only have like a day to prepare for a game, that's something that, you can rely on, your principles and the fundamentals that you go through all summer. So, I credit those guys to the work ethic they have. And it just boils down to, everybody in the program buying in, honestly.
So I got one more question for you. You spent 4 years at Philly. I lived just outside, or at Temple in Philadelphia. I lived just outside Philly. And today it was 35 degrees. What was the weather like in Riverside today?
We left Riverside yesterday. So Arizona's been nice. It's my first time in Arizona, actually, so it's been a good trip so far. But that Cali weather, you can't beat it, man. It's always sunny out here. The West Coast is cool, man. I love it.
Well, you're living life on the beach, and you're hitting 70-footers to beat Pac-12 teams in their own gyms. JP, congratulations, man. I'm going to vote for you for that to be an SB moment. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to push for that, for this. You get an award for that one, man. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck with your next game.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, Ashton, I got to ask you, have you ever hit a 70-footer to win a basketball game at any level?
So I actually have. My first year in Spain, I just kind of threw the ball up. It was 1 second left into the second quarter. I'm just thinking about it now. And it went in. I didn't even know it went in until, my teammates came running at me from the bench. So it was, obviously,
Wait, hold on. How did you not know it went in?
I kind of threw it up just thinking like, I'm just running to the locker room. It was the second quarter, so it was halftime. And, I usually don't shoot any of those shots. So honestly, I kind of threw it up just, and I didn't know it went in until the last minute. Everybody started yelling and screaming. So I know kind of how he feels, but not really, not to that level, I guess, in college.
Well, listen, I want to wrap this. We got about 5 minutes left here. I want to wrap this with a little bit more talk about Villanova against UCLA. The line, according to our partners over at Bet Rivers, is UCLA laying 4. And I do think that is, I don't know how hard I want to go on this, but I do think that is free money. Bet Rivers is giving money away to people that are going to bet on UCLA. I love the Bruins in this spot. Steve, you kind of touched on it a little bit with the way that they can play those 3 wings, the versatility that they have. I think that matches up really, really well with a program like a Villanova that so much of what they do is ball screen stuff. So much of what they do is about kind of creating. They want to basically create a closeout and let somebody attack a closeout. I think that UCLA has guys that can guard those closeouts. They're experienced. I'd make the argument they probably have the 2 best players on the floor in Jaime and Johnny Juzang. And then the biggest thing for me, Miles Johnson. We had Archie Miller on our all-day stream the other day, and he said that Miles Johnson, I never expected this to come out of his mouth, but he said Miles Johnson is the best individual defender that he ever coached against. So you put that guy at the 5 in the middle of a program or the middle of a defense that struggled to protect the rim and get rebounds. I love this UCLA program. I think that they are right there with Gonzaga for being the best team in college basketball this season. Why am I wrong, Steve? Why am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. Do I have to argue against?
No, you can just say I'm right. I like when you.
Obviously, I'm a big Mick Cronin fan. Terrific coach. He's got an identity with his teams. They gained so much confidence that the tail end of last year into their Final Four run, he's able to get those guys to go, and then they all returned. And kind of remind you a little bit about, in Florida, those kids came back years ago and after they won it, but it's almost like these kids came back to win it. And, led by Johnny Juzang and, the Rutgers, the big boy from Rutgers is going to help them, especially with the loss of Cody Riley. The only thing is, like I talked to you about, is why are we playing the game at 11:30 on the East Coast? But I guess you just got to get it on TV.
Yeah. I'm not happy about that one, but that's probably not for public consumption. My rant's about that one. All right, guys, I need official picks from you guys. All right, first and foremost, Ashton, we have Villanova at UCLA. Who's winning that game?
I have UCLA, and I actually got a chance to see Miles Johnson a bit last year, just being that I'm from Jersey, and he was a Rutgers big man. He does a really good job on the defensive end, but offensively, you can throw him the ball at the block, and he can score down there. He really gives them a presence, not only defensively, but offensively. And then Tiger Campbell, I think, will be the difference. He can really control the pace of the game. He can control the game, late shot clocks. He can get in the lane and create shots, not only for himself, but for others. And Johnny Juzang, he's going to make big shots. So I have UCLA in that one.
Steve, who you got?
Yeah, I'm with Ashton. Obviously tons of respect for Villanova and their culture and what they're about and their style of play. I love, and they've got great toughness. But would it shock me if they won? No. But if I'm picking, I'm going UCLA.
I like how you said, at least I know where I stand right now, because you said I'm with Ashton, even though I said that betting on UCLA is free money. So at least I know where I stand at this point. All right, official picks for Texas Gonzaga. You got about 15 seconds here, Steve. Give me your pick. Who's winning that game?
Oh man, I'm gonna go Texas. Do we get the 8.5? Or are we going straight up?
Whatever you want.
No. I'm going Texas. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. But just with Big 12 ties, I'm going to go Texas. And though I think the world of both coaches.
Ashton, what do you got?
I'm going Texas. I think, from top to bottom, I think overall defensively, they'll make a stand from the first 5 minutes of the game. So I think Texas is going to get them.
Yeah, I do too. You give me Chris Beard, you give me the points. And the biggest thing, if you want like some real actual gambling analysis, is that I expect Beard to be able to muck this thing up and make it ugly. And I think it's going to be played like in the 60s or 70s, which is much different from the pace that Gonzaga would want to play at. Lower scoring, lots of points, makes those points more valuable. That's my thinking on this thing. So we're all in. You know what's going to happen? Villanova's going to win, and Gonzaga is going to win by 20 because we all are on the same page.
Yeah, I tell you what, Beard, he'll muck it up now. I mean, he'll have a lot of different defenses. Gonzaga will have a lot of different looks. It's going to be a terrific game.
So listen, I had a lot of fun on the show. It kind of got weird for a little bit, kind of got reckless. We had a surprise guest jump in, but I had a lot of fun talking ball with you guys. For Steve Prohm and Ashton Gibbs, I'm Rob Doster. This was the Field of 60.